Again, in part 2 for chapter 5 about interpersonal group behavior and team dynamics. In part 1, we discussed um, groups versus teams and differences between groups and teams, and how each definition works differently, or how groups function in a different way than teams. And we looked at different types of teams, starting with functional, departmental teams, and cross-functional teams, and then self-directed teams. In in section 2 in chapter 5, we're going to look actually at the advantages and the disadvantages with teams. So when we discuss or um, or tackle the phenomena of teams and how they function, uh, we cannot escape, it would be good to examine their advantages and their disadvantages. Like many books on organizational behavior, on leadership, have really tackled the topic of the good about teams and the trouble with teams, or the risk with employing teamwork, and what is it about team dynamics. If we want to start with the advantages of teams, we can argue, as in our books, in our textbooks, the argument here is that teams make better decisions. They make better decisions because they can share more inputs. There is more diversity into the teams rather than working individually. So compared with individuals working alone, teams can make better decisions. There is a great possibility that we would end up in a better decision making paradigm, because two people will definitely exchange better the decision mechanism than one individual, and that's the principle. Teams can make better products and services, and that's very obvious. You need a team of talented people or experts if you want to produce a new product or service. Say you want to work on a development of a new brand for a car. So let's say Ford wants to develop a new brand. Um, of course, in that aspect, um, that this team would be assembled from different functions and from different expertise. We would need marketing expertise, we would need finance expertise, we would need engineering expertise, we would need technology. Uh, but every one of these experts has his or her own agenda, his or her own priorities. But in principle, teams, they make better products and services because there is a variety of knowledge and expertise. Of course, the argument here is again that teams, they increase employee engagement. People become more engaged in the team, in the project, when working on an interpersonal approach. Now, the trouble with teams, some people also, or some books, or even some management gurus could talk or could examine the disadvantages of teams, or the trouble with teams. On the other hand, whereas teams can make better decisions, but individuals can be faster on some tasks, or can be better working alone, working individually. Actually, some work, some tasks require, it would be better if they could be worked on an individual basis. Uh, Another disadvantage or another risk associated with teams is the cost of developing and maintaining the team. It costs time, and it costs money for a team to be functional. So we don't want to risk, sometimes we risk uh, teams becoming dysfunctional, and that's very dangerous and that's very bad because that's big loss. So team has cost. There is a cost of developing and maintaining a team. Brooks' law actually argues that if we add more members to a team which is already behind schedule, we would risk more delay rather than faster performance. So there is this process loss. There is this risk with maintaining and developing a healthy, functional team. And finally, or maybe one of the most important aspects or troubles about team or working within a team is social loafing. Sometimes, or maybe many times, we have to put up with free riders. Who are free riders? Free riders are individuals who exert less effort, less performance, and get the same result. Get the same result as other, the same result like other members. So social loafing occurs when individuals exert less effort when working in groups rather than alone. How to minimize it? Social loafing actually can be minimized through a myriad of strategies. One of these strategies is you want to make individual performance visible. You want to make it more visible. We could form smaller teams, so it's about the size. So because big size teams, we tend to lose control when we have bigger teams. We could specialize tasks because specializing tasks would allow us to observe and make a good observation about what if each member of this team is doing. And we could also, it would be a very good practice to measure individual performance. So measuring individual performance is crucial. That could play very well, very good in minimizing social loafing. So we could also increase employee motivation. If we increase the motivation, the ability, actually, if we increase the motivation of team members, that's another factor which would minimize the social loafing. Increase job enrichment, make tasks rich, variable, a variety of tasks. So the job would depend on a variety of skills, and then we would select motivated employees. We would select employees who have the ability and the willingness. And in so doing, that would put the team, put us in a much better situation. I'm going to stop here and then we will continue with part 3 with chapter 5. Thank you very much.